He gave her money for the bus, not knowing she was a CEO millionaire, and fell madly in love with her. But what happened that morning was far more than just a simple gesture. It was the beginning of a story neither of them expected, because when their eyes met in the crowded bus, there was something unspoken, a spark so pure that it seemed like fate had placed them both there, in that exact moment, on that exact seat, surrounded by strangers yet suddenly existing only for one another. He was just a regular guy, tired after his part-time shift, carrying his worn-out backpack, and dressed in his simple grey hoodie. He had barely enough for his own expenses, but when he saw her standing there, searching through her small purse, her brows furrowed as if she was missing a dollar bill, his heart tugged at him, and without a second thought he pulled out a couple of crumpled notes and pressed them into her hand, smiling gently as if it was nothing. She looked at him, surprised, her lips curving into the kind of smile that can make time stop. She didn't need his money. In fact, she could buy the entire bus company if she wanted. But in that moment she realized he didn't know who she was, and that was the most beautiful thing she had felt in years. She was used to people recognizing her face from magazines, used to business partners chasing her for deals, used to men trying to impress her with wealth and luxury. But here was someone who saw only a girl who needed help with bus fare, and he helped without hesitation, without expecting anything. It was disarming, it was human, and it was real. She thanked him softly, her voice warm and genuine, and he nodded as if it wasn't worth mentioning. Yet when she sat down beside him, their conversation flowed like a river that had been waiting for years to break free. They spoke about small things first, the weather, the rush of the city, but soon it turned into laughter about childhood memories, dreams they never shared with others, little stories about books, movies, and favorite foods. The bus felt like a world of its own, and the noise around them faded until they were caught in the rhythm of each other's voices. Every stop passed unnoticed, every moment stitched into their hearts. He never once suspected that the woman with the graceful posture, the subtle perfume, and the sparkle in her eyes was one of the most powerful businesswomen in the city, a millionaire CEO who could have arrived in a chauffeur-driven car if she wanted, but she had taken the bus that day simply to feel normal, to escape the endless demands of her title. She watched him carefully, the way he listened intently when she spoke, the way he spoke about his mother with respect, the way his eyes lit up when he described his dream of starting his own small business one day, and she felt something stir deep within her, something money had never been able to buy. He felt it too, though he could not explain it. Her presence was magnetic. He found himself wanting to protect her, to make her smile again and again, to see how her eyes crinkled when she laughed. He thought she was just a simple stranger, maybe a teacher, maybe a student, someone ordinary like him. But to him she was already extraordinary. The bus ride ended too quickly, and before leaving she asked for his number. He hesitated, his heart racing, not because he thought she was out of his league, but because he had never felt such an instant bond before. He scribbled his number on a scrap of paper and handed it to her. She smiled, clutching it as if it was worth more than diamonds. That evening she called him, not as the CEO everyone feared and admired, but as the woman who wanted to hear his laugh again. Days turned into weeks, and they met for coffee, for walks in the park, for moments that stitched themselves into the fabric of a love story that neither of them could deny. He admired her kindness, her intelligence, her mysterious aura, while she adored his honesty, his hard-working spirit, his unshakable humility. When she finally revealed who she really was, the CEO, the millionaire, the woman on magazine covers, he was stunned. Silence stretched between them, but then he laughed softly, shaking his head, and said that to him she would always be the girl on the bus who smiled at his crumpled dollar bills, and that was enough. She felt tears in her eyes, because in a world where everyone wanted her for her wealth, he wanted her for her heart. Their love deepened, not out of wealth or status, but out of shared mornings, late night calls, silly jokes, and unwavering support. He gave her money for the bus that day, but what he truly gave her was something far more valuable. He gave her hope, he gave her love, and in return she gave him a place in her world, not as a stranger anymore, but as the man she fell madly in love with, a love that no amount of millions could ever compare to. And as the years passed, their story became not about money, not about titles, but about two souls who found each other in the simplest of moments, on a crowded bus, with nothing more than kindness and everything that mattered. He gave her money for the bus, not knowing she was a CEO millionaire, and fell madly in love with her, and this simple act, that seemed so ordinary on the surface, became the turning point of both their lives, because it wasn't just about a few crumpled bills exchanged on a crowded city bus. It was about the raw humanity behind the gesture, the way kindness comes unannounced, the way love sneaks in when we are least expecting it. And I want you to imagine that moment, the bus rattling through morning streets, people lost in their own thoughts and worries. And then here is a young man exhausted from his part-time shift, carrying a worn-out backpack. His hands calloused from work, his hoodie plain and unassuming. He notices a woman searching through her purse, frowning ever so slightly, as if she might not have the right change to pay the fare. He does not pause to calculate whether he can spare it. He does not ask who she is or what she does. He does not look for something in return. He simply reaches into his pocket, pulls out a few notes, and places them in her hand with a smile that says it is nothing, though for her it is everything. She looks at him, and in that moment her heart stirs, because he does not recognize her face from the magazines. He does not see her as the multimillionaire CEO who sits in boardrooms and signs contracts. He does not see the woman with power cars and luxury. He sees only a girl on a bus, someone who might need a little help. And so he helps, and that is when she realizes something money could never buy: the purity of being treated as just another person, not an icon, not a target, not a trophy. She feels seen for who she is rather than what she has. And she falls in love with that feeling before she even falls in love with him. Their conversation flows effortlessly, first about the weather, then about silly things like favorite food and childhood games, and then deeper about dreams, fears, and what it means to be truly happy. The bus becomes a world within a world, a place where two strangers turn into companions and companions into something more. He does not know her worth in numbers, but he knows her worth in laughter, in honesty, in the sparkle of her eyes when she talks about her passions. She does not know his bank balance, but she knows his soul. She knows he carries love for his mother. She knows he has a dream of one day owning a small cafe, a dream so humble yet so rich with sincerity. And as the bus moves forward, so does destiny, weaving their lives together in ways neither of them expected. And when she later reveals who she is, the shock on his face is real, for he cannot believe the woman he offered a few crumpled bills to is one of the wealthiest women in the city. But then he laughs and says that to him she will always be the girl on the bus who smiled at his kindness. And she realizes at that moment that this man is different. He is not blinded by status. He is not intimidated by wealth. He is not in love with her fortune. He is in love with her heart. And that is the keynote of this story, the essence of why it matters, because in a world obsessed with money, with appearances, with the race for more and more, it reminds us that love still blooms in the smallest acts, in the ordinary places, in the kindness we give without keeping score. He gave her money for the bus, but what he truly gave her was hope. Hope that genuine connection still exists. Hope that beneath the noise of ambition and wealth, there are still hearts that beat for something more real. She gave him love not wrapped in riches, but in moments of shared laughter, in the quiet support of two people building dreams together. And together, they built a story not of millions, but of meaning, not of luxury, but of loyalty, not of status, but of soul. And that is why this story speaks to us all, because it is not about being rich or poor, not about being powerful or ordinary. It is about the humanity we carry, the courage to give even when we have little, the beauty of being loved for who we are, and not for what we own. He gave her money for the bus, not knowing he was giving her the one thing she craved the most, a chance to be loved as herself. And in return he received more than he ever imagined, a love so deep it eclipsed any fortune. And so their journey reminds us that love does not ask for credentials, love does not measure bank accounts, love does not care for titles or trophies. Love simply sees the heart, and if we dare to look closely, if we dare to give selflessly, if we dare to embrace another without judgment, we too might find ourselves in the same position, discovering the extraordinary in the most ordinary of moments, perhaps even on a crowded bus with nothing more than a smile and a crumpled bill, but with everything that truly matters.